Hello, my friend, and welcome to this episode of A Call to Leadership. I'm Dr. Nate Salah, your host. I'm so glad you are here. If you've ever wondered about some of the almost crazy verses in the scriptures, like be holy, what does that mean? Like, could I be holy? I'm just a dude. You're a person, right? We're not floating on air, pious as can be. We make mistakes. We have fumbles. I just asked my wife, I am not flawless. How could I ever be holy? Respond to that command. Well, friend, you're in for a treat. I've got two other dudes, Joe Thompson, Travis Revelle. We're entrepreneurs. We're leaders. We love the understanding of how leadership comes together and raising our bar. We're going to unpack this term, what it means. Hey, we're not religious scholars. We're not theologians. We are human beings who want to live better, live smarter, live higher, to a higher calling, a higher purpose, and we want to share that with you. So buckle your seats. We are going to go for a ride, and by the end of this episode, we'll understand not only what it means to be holy, but we'll be on fire for it. Can't wait to listen in. I'm Dr. Nate Salah. This is A Call to Leadership. Fellas, hi.
How are you?
Hello, Nate. Hello, Travis.
Good afternoon, good sir.
What's going on?
He called you a good sir.
He just doesn't know me well. I appreciate it. I appreciate the confidence.
Nobody calls anyone sir anymore.
I do.
I do.
Yeah, because we're old.
No, I call other people sir and ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you
I
forget?
would say thank you, sir.
Yeah.
It's tough today. I mean, almost. I've had to wonder if somebody's going to get upset with me.
I call younger people sir, and they kind of,
Right.
give me a look sometimes, but I'd be like, thank you, sir.
It's happened a couple times.
I hold the doors open for people still,
Same.
stuff like that.
Same.
And so when people hold the door open I call it the Midwest swing, where somebody, there's, so walking into my gym, there's two doors, right? And so like there's two separate doorways you have to go through. And so a lot of times, I'll hold the door for somebody and it'll be a guy, right? And I'll be like, thank you. I'll be like, you're welcome. And then they'll go to the next door and then they hold it open for me. And I'm like, thank you, sir, doing the Midwest swing, because it's in the Midwest where you feel like obligated. If somebody does something nice for you, you have to do something nice back to them.
Reciprocation.
Absolutely.
Right?
Otherwise, you're off balance.
Yes.
I have this accountant friend. You know what I mean? And you're not debited and credited properly.
Credits and debits have to match.
The only problem is when sir has a question mark behind it, like as you're saying it, and you're like, thank you, sir. Then
It's the thought that counts.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I still think it's a lost. I think it's a lost art. I think we're getting to the point to where it's probably it's more of an exception.
A few more generations and it's gone.
Maybe, or if it's going to be you just be different.
Yeah.
Be different.
I don't know why it has to be a
Would we be set apart?
male-female thing.
We might be setting ourselves apart.
Wow.
Well, what a great,
Interesting.
What a great segue, huh? Hey, how many times in your life, I'm going to ask you guys a question, okay? And our listener, how many times in your life has anyone looked at you and said, be holy?
Outside of our conversations here, zero.
Yeah, absolutely. Zero.
Never.
Never.
Same.
Never.
Never. I'm a listener. I wonder if you're saying the same thing, right? And when someone does, if someone were to say that, well,
You said it, so I can tell you exactly how it felt.
how'd you feel?
Very, very intimidating, overwhelming, scary, terrified. It was not a comfortable, I did not receive that in comfort.
It wasn't like a Midwest swing.
No.
Swinging the door.
No. There was no way for me to come back and credit that debit side of that equation.
Yeah. You didn't feel offended? Did you feel offended, Val?
I didn't feel offended because, when you say holy, I don't, prior to, I would never have considered myself holy. Even though I believe in Jesus, right? Like I try to do really nice things, like hold open doors for people and then do, good works and stuff like that. But holy was it's such a big, heavy word, right? That like, if I say be holy, I immediately, like the first thing that pops in my mind is the Pope, right? Like something on that level, right? I'm not saying the Pope is necessarily holy, but I'm just saying like that insurmountable, that if somebody tried to offend me and they're like, you're not holy, right? Prior to that conversation, I would have been like, oh, yeah, okay, cool. What else? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, right. Like, okay. Like that did nothing to me because I'm well aware that I am not holy, you know? So it was scary.
Yeah. What about you, Joseph? You remember when I told you be holy?
I do remember that.
Actually, I texted you first.
Wow, you got a heads up.
I got hammered with it because he knew the reach he had to. Knew to drop that mic
bomb. Get through the phone.
He's like, I have to prime him.
If I did it in person, he'd just disintegrate.
Before you said that to me, holy was a more of a destination than a journey. Like I thought it was something that you either are or you are not something you can achieve. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, yeah.
Because, growing up, there was like the holy people and then all of my friends.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it was intimidating, I think, to and it was encouraging to think like, can I be holy? You know what I mean? Because all the, because I have faith and I'm spiritual. I never equated it to, I can have this process which helps me become more holy.
Yeah.
And the way you define it is different than the way it was said in my head,
right?
With the Pope thing.
The way he defines it is paramount to the conversation.
Yes, that's what. Because when you just text it to me, and I didn't have the crux of what it was, I was like, this guy's insane.
Yeah, your exact response. Crazy. I remember it. Your exact response is, "I can't be holy, bro." I mean, that was your 4-word response.
Yeah.
Because it is. Mm-hmm. It's the terminology to us. The word picture that many of us have is pious, almost walking on air. You've achieved this level of sainthood, almost, right? To where it's like, whoa, yeah, no, I'm not there. I'm not that person.
I'm just a guy.
Yeah.
And you don't think you can get there because, what am I going to be, a martyr?
Right.
I'm not going to be a saint.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, you think about that, right? You think about all the things, okay, well, what are all the things I would have to, like, give up? Or even, like, there's no way you'd even think about imposter syndrome because you're like, I'm not even close enough to think about what it'd be like.
Listen, I'm all for a challenge. Right.
Right, bring it on, right? Bring on a challenge,
right? Yeah, like I can do that. When you said that to me, again, prior to the, deep explanation, I was just like, no, like I can't. Like I started immediately thinking about all the sins that I do on a day-to-day basis, not even like major things, but just me as a human being, right? Like I was like, I cannot be holy. Like I just can't. But after your explanation,
yeah,
I'm open to the challenge.
Open. And I thrive on someone telling me something I can't do.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, you can't do this. You can't do this.
Joe showed up to the next day to the office in a robe, sandals. Like, bruh.
Is this hat too tall?
Well, it's kind of good in red.
Like as soon as the doctor tells me I can't do something, I immediately start doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'm just going to defy it, right? Maybe you should have texted me, hey,
don't be holy.
Don't be holy. And I'll show you.
No, you can't be holy.
Yeah. So yeah. That's I think how it would come across to anybody.
Yeah, indeed. And even myself in the journey of life, that seems like it's unattainable, so you just figure I'm not even going to deal with it, right? And that's natural. It's okay. It's where we all start. The problem with that is we are instructed, we're commanded to be holy. In the first book of Peter, the scripture says, "Be holy." Okay, and not just be holy, but be holy because I am holy. Of course, God, right? God is holy, and it's like, okay, all right, well, sounds good. Not quite sure how this is going to play out, right?
Right.
So we got to break it down, and this is so important with, especially for our listener or our viewer. Anything that we perceive in language, it's so important. Go to the source, break it down, understand before we make a judgment, right? So, Joe, you always talk about reflect rather than deflect. And I love that, let's reflect on this before we deflect it and say, okay, no, that's not for me. You got the wrong person. Hey, don't waste your time, or it's just not going to happen. Because it's really interesting, and going back to the Greek, this is in the New Testament. The Greek for be holy, just the word holy, the Greek word hagios, it means this. It means to be set apart. It means to be consecrated, different from the world. You've got a divine calling. We talk a lot about purpose in our community. We talk about the desire in Great Summit to have significance where we've only had success, right? Don't settle for success when significance is around the corner, right? There's something greater. And this is I think this is one of the implications of this holiness is not just about avoiding wrongdoing or avoiding misstepping, right? Or avoiding sinning, right? It's an active, intentional alignment with God's best for us in our purpose in every area of life. Hey, that's something I can get behind.
That's a challenge that it seems a little bit more attainable.
Yeah. Okay. That essence of the definition of just the word holy. Because don't we want to be set apart? Like, isn't everything we do in industry, with our families, with our communities, with our desire to rise above the mediocre and the standard quo, isn't that like the heart of our entrepreneurial, our leadership journey?
I mean, we talk about products and we always talk about what's the competitive advantage, right? This is a personal competitive advantage. Right. I mean, that's all it is.
I want to go somewhere with this.
Bring it.
Okay, so you mentioned divine calling. Okay, so for a big portion of my life, I'm just gonna be honest here. Sometimes my love for God and everything, I was embarrassing.
Okay.
And I think some people are going to relate to this. Like when I would be in a restaurant and I would pray, I'd make the sign of the cross because, I'm Catholic. I kind of do like a little head tuck and a little tiny cross so no one saw it. And then when I felt called by God, like physically called, when you explain that to someone, you don't know how they're going to take it. Like, is this guy a nut? Or is he, does he really feel this way? Mm. But to the person it's happening to, it's real. But I was embarrassed to talk about it for a long time. And then, all the be holy stuff started coming up. And I was like, hey, this is so divinely driven that what other people think about it makes no difference because it's my relationship with God, the way I interact with him, right? Mm-hmm. So I think if there's an embarrassment to say, hey, I feel this divine calling, don't be like, this is your road to being holy, right? Because I needed a starting point. Like, I'm operational, so like I needed a starting point. The starting point was to be holy was divine calling, right? The rest is how I accept that, right? How I internalize it and I show radical love to others, right? So if you're feeling a little bit like, I'm
intimidated,
afraid to tell people like I feel like I have a divine calling, like, don't be. Like, tell us. This is a good community to talk about it.
It's a safe space.
Yeah,
it is
safe space to be brave. That's what we say, right? Safe space to be brave. There's so much of an importance to understanding that calling piece, because I've looked at it like this. You have 3 different types of employment, if you will, right? You can have a job, and the acronym that I've heard for job is just over broke, right? Okay, we've all been there, right? I've had a job, and I was just over broke. And then you have a career, which is a step up from that, and careers can change, and things change, and markets change, and you may change your career, right? We've all changed careers. But then there's a third tier. There's a third level, the calling. The calling is when it's inside, burning fire, that nothing can stop you, no matter what obstacle you face, from moving step by step by step to receive it. Which one do you want?
Calling.
Like, what is going to truly give you that deepest sense of fulfillment, significance, meaning, value, purpose?
Joy.
Exactly, right? That's what this is saying. Like, live in that. Raise that bar. Raise that standard. Be holy. And the other part of this, the word be, it's like we can't miss that out, because that was the word holy. Be. In the Greek, be that's used here is geneseth, which is a little bit of grammar school from back in the day, a present imperative middle passive verb, right? All the grammar folks, the English teachers are like, yeah, I remember that. Not us. Or the homeschool moms. And my wife would be like, yep, know what that one is. So here's what it means. It's really got 3 parts. So I'll break them down. And I want you to hear this. The present tense. So to be holy, it's continuous. It's not just one and done. Oh, wow. I've just, I climbed out of bed. Look at me now, right? Hey, guys, check this out. Nate, check it out, right? I'm holy. No, it's continuous. Holiness is not a one-time act. It's an ongoing process, right? That's a little reassuring, isn't it? That I don't just have to, like, fake it till I make it.
Right.
No. It's a process, right? There's certain things in life that we're called to raise the standard in the bar, and it takes time. And we have to give ourselves some grace in that and keep striving to move forward. So in that, is there anything, since you two are here, that through this calling out, calling up, that you've been like, okay, I'm taking this on. This is an area of holiness that I'm going to continue to move forward to be set apart in, that maybe I haven't given enough gas.
I don't know if there's a part of my life that I haven't tried to apply this to be honest with you. Because when you explain it like you do, it's a process, right? It's not something we just achieve. It's to me, it's a choice. It's a choice when faced with situations to choose to do it the way that I've always done it, which I know that outcome, right? I know where that gets me if I choose to do things the way that I've always done them. Or I can choose to be holy, and I can choose to do it a different way. And what I have found in the past 3 months since you told us that, right? Like, I'm not going to say my life is radically different, right? Because it is a process, but I am happier. I am more satisfied, right? My circumstances haven't necessarily changed so radically that somebody's going to see me and be like, you're holy. But internally, I use that as my brain works very much black and white, right? This is good, this is bad. And I like my brain working like that, right? So once I kind of adjusted my perception of what that means, that is now a filter in which I use in my decision-making tree, right? It doesn't mean that I make the right choice all the time,
Right.
right? I don't, but I'm actively trying to.
Yep.
And I think that that intentionality of choosing to actively do that has made it easier to make that choice, because it's not something that's being forced upon me. It's not something that somebody's saying you have to do this. I know it's an expectation from God, and I want to please God. And so when I have an opportunity to choose to be holy, I try my best to make that choice.
It's good.
And this is just my opinion, but since you started doing that, I see it in them. Like, I see a change like that. People who've known you for a while, I think will see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think there is like almost a physical manifestation of that calm that it brings you. You know, like when you're on that road, you're calm. You know, we're all business guys. Unfortunately, in business, like, aggressiveness helps. You know, you're awarded for being aggressive, getting it done, you know, pushing it through. And being holy is really, for me, it started with just being patient, right? Don't be on the attack, you know, just be reflective, be patient, and, you know, don't make decisions in the heat of a moment, you know, just stop and think it through. And that's been my path. I think it's just a more calm feeling. Do you notice more of a calm?
No, 1,000%.
As you work towards it?
Yes.
You noticed?
I didn't know if you were like taking medication or something, or new medication.
Jesus is my medication, Nate.
Jesus is your Xanax. That's even a shirt.
I almost spit that on you.
That's a t-shirt for somebody out there.
It's true. It's true. And what's interesting about, as you're expressing this, part of what we're talking about is vision. And then we talk a lot about vision and the essence of vision, because in Proverbs it says that without vision the people perish. 29:18, I want to say. And it's the reason why is because we settle for mediocre without vision, right? Because you just don't know. So it's like, well, if I don't have vision, then I mean, I'm just going in any direction. So like if you're on a ship, you're going to be chasing distractions. You're going to be stopping at every port. Why? I don't know where I'm going, right? But if you have vision, if you know this is my destination, you're clear and you're focused. And because if you're clear and focused, that's what you're talking about. Like now I know I'm clear and focused. I got my permitted, prohibited, right? I've got like on off ramp. And like this off ramp doesn't lead me to my destination. So obviously I'm not going that direction, right? So it's not. However, every so often, because it is a process, I might still stop off, right?
Right.
But I know, I know, you know what? It's going to take me a little longer to get there. That's okay. That's all right. However, I know where I'm going.
It makes it easier. Truly, it does. It makes it easier because, I mean, you guys have known me for years, right? Like I'm known to be the hot-headed guy at work, right? Like when things aren't going well, and my partners will be like, you know, they'll like give me a look, like turn it on. You know what I mean? Like they know, right? They know they want me on that edge because I'm good on that edge, and I haven't lost an edge. I think it's. My dad always taught me that there's intelligence and wisdom, right? And there's a significant difference between the two. And you can be smart but not wise. But I think that by following this, it gives me a little bit of wisdom to not I have overreacted in some situations, but I've been very intentional when I did that and not reactive when I did that. So I can still get the same benefit of using it without the necessity to feel like I always have to use it.
Right. And the charges were dropped, so you're good.
Yeah. I'm good. We're good. Of course, we're safe. I can't talk about it for 7 years, but we're safe right now.
So here's what I love about it. So anyone listening right now that is being told be holy, right? Because that's what we're saying, right? Like we're there, like we are those people, and
who have heard that. Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
And there's various ways to begin the journey, right? The process. So like, if you're just, sitting on a couch playing video games all day and you're like, me be holy, like there is a starting point for you, right? And that's where this works for everyone, right? Whether you're a housewife, a CEO, just a guy living in the street. There is a process by which you can start this no matter where you are in life, right? And the status of holiness is the most important thing you can do with a life.
That's right. And we're going
because everything else will fade.
And we're gonna get into some of the process pieces today. It's so important to recognize that most of what we do is just status quo. Most of what we do is settling for mediocre.
Just enough.
Most of what we do. That's why this is essential. That's why it's not about walking on a cloud of air. It's about, hey, what truly sets me apart for the very best that is available to me in the journey called life. It's not, by the way, it's not even about me. Here's the other part about it. We're still working through the present imperative middle passive verb, right? So we got to present tense. This is just a word, by the way, the word be. That's why it's so cool.
Crazy.
That's why it's so cool. Go into the original language because it's so rich. Here's the second part, imperative mood. It is a command, not a suggestion. God is calling us to actively pursue holiness. Why? Because God wants the best, right? He doesn't want us to settle for mediocre. It's like, we're not doing that, right? Just like with your own family. You might have had a loved one or a child or something like that. You're like, no. We're not doing that. I'm not making a suggestion for you to live like that.
I use that phrase with 8-year-olds so much. I'm not suggesting you're doing that. This is what I'm telling you we're going to do,
Yeah. Why?
Because I know what's best.
Yes.
It's like God knows what's best.
Yes. Active pursuit is best. It's to pursue being set apart and consecrated for a divine purpose is best for you. Not a suggestion.
It's what we were built to do.
Right. Yes, we're made for, right?
Yes.
Because I don't want you living a life and then coming back at me and saying, oh, well, you just said I just suggested it. Like I could have had a much better life if you would have said. It's not a suggestion.
But again, we have free choice.
Yes, right. Yeah, you can say no.
Right. But if you choose to go through this process, you will yield results.
Yeah, and just like initially, you might feel a little shocked. You between the two of you, you definitely, Travis, you took it better. Sorry, Joe. Like I said, I had to text you, and even through the text, you're like, bruh, it happened.
He lost his mind. It finally happened. I wish I'd have known how you were taking it. I've been like, yeah, I'm with him.
And my response was, you don't know what it means. Right. I'll tell you what it means, right? You don't know what it means. Here's the third part, middle passive voice. Okay, middle voice. The middle voice is we participate in the process. We participate. Holiness requires intentionality. What does that mean? What does that look like for you? What does the intentionality of being set apart look like?
It means you make a choice that you're going to follow and do this path, right? And like I said, Doesn't mean it happens all the time. I go to the gym, right? That's a passion of mine, right? You want to look a certain way. It doesn't happen in a week, a month, a year, 5 years. You know what I mean? I will tell you, anybody that goes to the gym regularly, right? Like is for sure has body dysmorphia, right? It's just
on some level, right?
Oh my God, 100%. Especially if you're, 45 years old and you're going to the gym, 6 days a week, you have body dysmorphia. And so, a lot of people be like, what's your goal? And I don't have it. Like, okay, here's when I'm done. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's going to go on forever because it's something that I aspire to do. You know what I mean? So
this is important. This is part of the process that Joe was alluding to earlier. When you're talking about intentionality, let's just break down some of the things that you have to do intentionally to take care of having physical health, which is one of our 4 pillars in our G3 model, right? So, spiritual health, mental health, physical health, financial health, right? So this is a 3rd pillar, essential, right? Because you got to take care of this temple. Because if it ain't working, guess what? I ain't much use.
Nope.
Right? Intentionality. What are some of the things that every single day I have to be massively intentional about?
I mean, my whole day, right? Like, how I schedule meetings, right? Like when it's not the top priority in my life because I've got a family, I've got kids, I've got all these other responsibilities, right? But I have to sacrifice something personally, right? Because I look at it, I have 24 hours in my day, right? I can have 1 hour of 24 that is specifically for my physical health, right? And that 1 hour may be 6 o'clock in the morning. It may be 6 o'clock at night. It may be 12 o'clock. It doesn't, it rotates, but it's making sure that all my other hours are accounted for. And it may be an hour of sleep that I'm losing, right? Like I'm sacrificing something for that, but the benefit and the long-term gain is worth that short-term sacrifice for me.
Perfectly said. Joe, when it comes then to the issues or the challenges that you face, for example, you mentioned patience, the intentionality. How do you intentionally now approach that desire to walk in a greater set apartness, if you will, in that area?
It's based on what my focus is.
Yeah.
Right? So if you shift your focus from something that you aggressively go after, if you look at the importance of it, like in your life being whole or fulfilled or having joy, very few of us are going to pick the things that bring us joy the same as these are the things that I have to chase aggressively in my life, right? So, you got to prioritize anything that you're doing. And the things I go after now, which is more important, is to be a better husband, be a better friend, be a better neighbor, better son. You know what I mean? Like put those first and give them the time, right, to focus and work on that. And then my secondary part is put together a business, I structure something for someone, and I feel better doing it now. Like I'm a lot more calm doing it because I by nature have a racing brain, right? And for years and years and years, like I'd barely sleep, right? Because I was always thinking about like, what's next? And now, like I call out my own ridiculousness when I'm doing that. Like, I'm like, what are y'all upset for? Yeah. Just focus on what needs to be focused on. And those other things, they'll come when they come. If I lose a client or something over not being aggressive enough or, being too patient, I'm okay. I'd be okay with that. Right. Mm-hmm. Because it's just not the healthiest way for me to live.
Yeah. What struck me about both of your explanations of this process is the intentionality causes us to reach beyond what feels natural what feels comfortable, right? That's a sign. That's a sign that I'm growing. And of course, our G3 model, right? Grow, give, go. I think about areas of our lives, my life, that that I've responded to this command to be holy. For example, years ago, I would go home in the evening, turn on the TV. My kid was 4 or 5 years old. He'd be playing on the floor, and I watched some programs, and we call it a night. And one night, I was like, you know what? Turn that thing off. Just turn it off. Just go play with your son. I know it's the status quo. I know it's normal. I know it just kind of feels easy to just flip the TV on, but engage in his life. That's, these are incremental changes. They don't have to be life changing. Just be tiny steps, right? Each step forward. And that was a massive change in my life, even though it was small, by turning the remote off in my relationship with my son, to be set apart, right? For a divine calling to what? Be his father and spend time with him. How about that for a divine calling, right? At work. Travis, you'd mentioned you're a hothead. You have been a hothead. I've seen it in action. A lot of people don't know this about me. Many moons ago, I too was a hothead. And in fact, when Joe and I would go to bars, and I'm like, I can be even bigger hothead because he's a big guy and we can get into fights and we can beat people up. Yeah. And Joe would always be like, we probably don't need to do that. We probably need to just bring it down 3 notches, right? And that carried on through a lot of my life, and I just couldn't tame that until I was called higher. Okay, what does it look like? And even in business with, say, a customer, a client who is like, hey, pushing your buttons, like, you did this or you did that, and you're in the right, and maybe the client has misinformation. Simply by flipping the script and saying, I'm going to approach this from a divine calling, that I'm going to act in radical love. Changed everything. All of a sudden the client's like, oh, wow, actually, I'm sorry, I've been having a bad day. It's not always the case. However, that's this level. By the way, greater, there's a lot of things we can't control in life. This is a greater control over the attitude we have, over the energy we have, over the ability that we have to conquer, take dominion over these circumstances that may seem to us unconquerable. This is the step in that direction. That's what we're talking about when we're talking about the intentionality of it. Here's the next, passive voice. Here's the thing about the passive in be holy. We cannot make ourselves holy. God is the one who sets us apart. We yield to his work in us. Guess what it takes? It takes a little bit of humility, right? Takes a little bit of like, you know what? I don't have it all figured out. There's a scripture where Paul is asking. I love this scripture. It's one of my favorites in terms of focus. Paul is asking for a reprieve from the thorn in his side. He says it prays 3 times for this, and he hears God say to him. He said, actually, Jesus. He says, "My grace is sufficient for you. My power is made perfect in weakness." Strong. Because we're strong guys. And I don't mean necessarily like muscle strong, but we believe, and there is some of that, right? But we believe that we're resilient. We're resilient. We can get this done. And God in here is saying, hey, I want you to yield to my work in you, because you don't have to do this alone.
There's a whenever you sacrifice, you're giving up something, right? And on this path, you're giving up something. But what you're giving up is really the thing that causes you worry, the thing that causes you doubt, the thing that causes you pain. But we hold on to that kind of stuff because there's almost a comfort level in, if I'm worrying about it, I'm on top of it. You know what I mean? If I'm thinking about it, I'm on top of it. But when you give that up, you're still capable of doing the same things you've ever done. It's just the manner you go about doing it is slightly different, just slightly different, right? And the way it affects you is, you said you have to have a little humility. You have to have a lot of humility, right? I mean, I think back about things that I have said in meetings with people, and I was just like, man, the humility wasn't there. Like, the advice was strong, the idea was great, but I didn't present it with enough humility, right?
Yeah. That's just so deep. It's what I find that is so endearing, I guess, in this part of the journey of that. We take a lot on our shoulders as leaders. We do, and it's a heavy load. I mean, it really is. And what God's saying in this, like, look, I'm not calling you to go out there into the wilderness and slug it out. I'm just calling you to follow me. We'll do this together. I mean, how can you not be down for that?
I'm down.
I'm down. I'm down to be holy.
Right.
Yeah. Recognizing it is huge. I had my wife one time say, I don't appreciate it when you don't treat me kind. And I'm like, is there a time I haven't treated you kind?
There's like 8 jokes that could happen right here, but we're not going to go there.
And, that hit you now like a ton of bricks.
Right.
Like, man, like, did I just ignore, that I just, just go about what I was doing, and, I didn't consider, I may not have considered that before my Be Holy journey, but now that kind of stuff hits me like impactfully.
Mm-hmm. It calls us out, calls us to a higher standard, the highest standard, really. Mm-hmm. And that calls us to, like, leave nothing on the table. And I think a lot of people, I mean, even someone listening right now, it's like, I've been just sliding.
Oh, if everybody's honest with themselves, I mean, then that's the thing, right? Like, look in the mirror, right? Just be honest with yourself. You're not telling your employees, your shareholders, your family, right? It's just being honest with yourself. And everybody can be better. You can be better. You just have to have the desire to want to be better.
Yeah.
As long as you've got the desire, there's processes to follow to get you there. But everybody has the desire, or everybody has the ability to do better.
Yeah, you nailed it. It's the honest look at yourself.
Yeah.
Like a deep, hard look at yourself. And like you said.
And recognize it's not the end.
It's not in front of the world.
Right. And it's not the end, right? Like, it's not like we're sitting here in judgment in front of God after we die, right? And we're looking back on this reel of our life on all the times that we didn't choose to be holy, right? It's just saying to yourself, like, okay, this is what I've chosen. These are my choices, right? It's owning it. It's accepting it. And it's saying just simply, I want to do better. And it's not like I went home and, like, told my wife or my kids, like, hey, I'm going to be holy, right? Like, I haven't told anybody.
Kids start crying.
Right. I mean, so
where's my daddy?
So it's also one of those things to where it's you are your own accountability partner in this, right? Like, if you're a believer, God is with you at all times, not just when you're in church, right? Like, He knows what's on your heart. And I think I read this, I think it was a meme, right? But it was kind of powerful. And it said, like, God hates sin. Like, He detests sin, but He loved you so much more than the sin. He knew every sin that you were going to commit from the moment He created the universe, but He still loved you more than He hated the sin, right? So it's not about feeling guilty. It's not about having the shame on you. It's about just making a choice to say, I'm going to do better. And one small step at a time.
And in so doing, I'm thankful that you both approached the command, not from me, but from God, with the kind of trepidation, almost disbelief. Because if you would have approached it like, oh yeah, sure, I got this, that's a problem.
Right.
In fact, in our community, as our Great Summit, our G3 model, I mean, that's an intro conversation, right? Be holy, and we require, in a way, that bit of trepidation because it means you're being real, right? Because nobody wakes up in the morning, and says, you know what, today I'm going to be holy.
Never once. 45 years did I ever say that.
And it's a process that we experience. We don't do it alone. We do it together. That's what's great about community. And of course, God instituting that community and doing it with us. And then when we accept the offer to walk with God in that, the next step is He's going to help us work through that. And there's going to be some challenges along the way that sharpen us, refine us, and drive us forward, not in a way that is I don't even want to say painful, because there's pain in some of the areas of letting go of things that perhaps are keeping us from our very best. It's not that. It's that we have a sense of vision for what's possible now in a way we never imagined before. Never imagined before. And that's the life I want to live.
It's a daily refinement.
Yeah.
It's a daily refinement. And I think that that's part of the cool thing about the challenge of it, is that there really is no end. There is no time where you can sit and be like, I did it, I'm holy. Right? I'm holy now. I'm good.
I got the t-shirt.
Yeah, I'm good.
I got it.
Right. I got it. I'm holy now.
I'm done.
Right? So it's about how you want to live your life.
Yeah.
Right? And what type of person you want to be. And for me, right, like, and the people that know me or are around me, they know that I say this a lot. I just want to be the absolute best version of myself that I can be.
Come on.
I don't want to leave this life and think I could have done that better. I want to, if I crash and burn, I crash and burn, but I'm going to try to be the best version of me I possibly can be. And part of that is to choose to be holy.
Yeah. I love it.
I use our G3 as a kind of a mantra, right? And I try to be in one of those three places at some time in the day. So am I growing, right? So, if you're Bible studying or if we're here doing a podcast,
Learning a trade.
like I feel like, okay, I have growth there. So that's a successful day for me. I've grown. Giving, am I being generous? Like, the things that I work for, are they benefiting others or just myself? Right. So, if I'm giving, I know I'm in that state right now, so it's a successful day, right? And then shedding any kind of fear to physically go and help. If I'm helping, I'm volunteering, I'm doing this or that other thing, I'm in one of my three states like that I want to be in, it's a successful day.
Yeah.
Right? So never looked at that before.
Yeah.
What I would have called success before is different, right, than what I call it now. Like if you're turning around a business, it's always easier if they can figure out where they are, right?
Right.
Like let's get your compass.
Thanks.
That's my North City coming out.
North City.
And find out where you are, and then we can follow where we want to go. So I always ask myself, where am I right now? Am I growing? Am I giving? Am I going? Right?
And that's part of the setting apart, right? That is one aspect of being set apart, because that's different. And I think this exposition of be holy is pretty exciting, right? So thanks for sharing, and I guess next week we can talk about what it means to be perfect.
On a lighter note, next week is about perfection.
Thanks for being here,
Thanks,
guys.
Thank you, guys.